Okay, so tonight, guys, we are talking about the Goblin Emperor. Pretty book from the library. And for Sword and Laser. And did we have anything that we wanted to share, like drinks and stuff, before we got started?
No,
I don't have any drinks.
I'm only drinking mineral water because it's Monday night. So.
What are you talking about? If this was Vaginal Fantasy, you guys know you would have drinks.
Yeah.
See,
I had a few many drinks on Friday night.
Well, I actually had Diet Coke in the house, which I don't usually have, so I'm having vodka in my Diet Coke.
Nice.
Okay.
But as you can see, I'm already most of the way through it.
I was considering brewing a cup of tea, then I was like, I can't be bothered, because I just wanted to watch the end of Orange is the New Black before I started the Hangout, because I just got Netflix, so... Oh,
yeah.
Again, going off track.
Netflix in Australia, yay!
We got Netflix as well, and I was just sitting and watching some stuff, and I was watching that show called The Midwife. Have you seen that show?
I love that
I've seen a
show.
little bit of it.
Oh my god, I have bawled my eyes out in every single episode so far.
How far are you in?
Season 2. I think it's the second episode I was just watching. And I was literally like, when Matt was like, the hangout's starting, are you going to that hangout? And I went, oh, I forgot about that. I need to go and wash my face because my eyes are all red from crying.
And here I come telling you that we're recording tonight. Yay!
It's all good.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so first impressions, the Goblin Emperor. I'm keeping it very light tonight, not very formal.
It's alright.
Anybody? Well, I'm going to go first for once. How about that? I love this book so much. I almost cried that I had borrowed it from the library instead of buying it because I wanted it on my shelves that much. And I talked about possibly stealing it from the library and then realised that would be very bad and that Kirsten might come after me. And so I've decided that when I can afford it, I will buy my own copy. But yes, I really liked it, if for no other reason than it just had a happy ending, and I like a happy ending so much. And it was a proper happy ending, and that was so good.
Yeah, I loved it too. I was, I think in the Sword and Laser podcast they were talking about it not a lot actually happening, but it's a character-driven book, and I really love books that are about the character, and if I care about the character, there doesn't need to be a huge amount of plot because that's what I like to read for is characters. And Maya was awesome. I really loved him. He was just so sweet and innocent, and yet like he really found his feet in the book, and I really liked it.
Saying that actually reminds me a lot of the last book we read for Land Down Under, where I just didn't connect with anyone, and this one I just immediately connected with him, and so the book could have done almost anything and I would have been happy to read it just because I connected with him.
Yeah. Me?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. I'm really bad. We'll continue on with discussion. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. I quite liked it was a really realistic portrayal of someone who's basically had no experience being forced into this position where basically they have no idea how to perform their job and they're just learning it as they go. And I connected to him. As I said with the last book we read for the Land Down Under Hangout, I was like, I like the characters, but I didn't really connect to the major ones. But, of course, as you said, with Maya, it was instant. Like, he's so nice, and I can really see that he's going to be a good emperor. He's putting in policies that would really work for the empire as a whole. And I actually really like that the end of it, when he's talking to some of the treason people, the treason guy, who betrayed his father and stuff. And he said, we did this because we know if you put it in that role, that there's going to be change for this country and it's going to be good. So I really like that. So, yeah.
Mm.
Well, he really wasn't saying it necessarily in reference to Maya, I thought, but more that they just needed to shake things up and not let it be the status quo, which I thought was a very interesting argument, but like it's a very risky thing to do.
Yeah, and it was interesting that idea of, okay, they're saying they did this horrible thing by killing all these people, but then the guy was sort of at the end going, well, didn't it turn out good? Didn't we, aren't things getting better already? And it's like, well, yeah, you're actually right, but it's still wrong to kill a bunch of people.
But it was very conflicting, but at the same time, I think that it's all a matter of perspective. For us, we felt like it turned out okay because we like Myers' perspective and it all seemed good. His life was better. His choices were ones we would make. But by the same token, does that necessarily mean everybody agrees?
No.
Yeah.
It's all very perspective-driven, that kind of argument. So.
Yeah, I would agree with his political decisions, but I realise that everyone is different in regards to how a country is like governed. So someone might consider his own decisions not so great after all. But there you go. I think that's a really interesting fact. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, she's written it pretty middle road. You've got a pretty good chance. Like, he's a very sympathetic character. There's very few people, I think, who wouldn't agree and feel sympathetic towards him and agree with his choices. So she's made a very clear choice about how she's written this book. And did you guys listen to the interview that Veronica and Tom did with the author?
Yes, I did.
And
it wasn't until after I'd read the book, so...
Yeah, I did that deliberate as well because I didn't want any spoilers. But I thought it was really interesting that she said that she'd deliberately written this so light almost because her other books were so dark and she wanted almost a palate cleanser. So,
although I did kind of go, oh, I kind of like the sound of her other books too.
Well, I like her style, and so I can't say that I think that I wouldn't enjoy the other books, but you know me, I don't tend to be much for too dark. It depends on what kind of dark we're talking about.
You did say they had sex in them, the other books.
Which is always a winning point.
Yeah.
Already sort of wishing for a bit more of that in the Vaginal Fantasy book for April, so for March, sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like she's definitely someone who I'll keep my eye on. I'll definitely read more books of. But I wonder if she's very different when she's doing something in a darker mode, which is apparently her more regular style. But yeah, I like the idea.
Also,
sorry.
I was just going to say, she also said that she wasn't planning to do any more, and this wasn't going to be a series, and was like, which is probably why she was freed up to give it such a nice happy ending without having too many loose threads. But I was like, oh, but I'd really like to read another one of these.
I think especially because there's so much world building in it. It is seriously in depth, and for her to spend that much time building a world like that and then not to return it to it in any shape or form, it's like devastating.
Yeah.
And unusual too, really.
But for the genre, it's very unusual. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. Can I think of another book that's been as in depth with the world building that was a standalone? The only one I can think of at the moment is The Night Circus.
Tigana. That was
Yeah, you're right. But he does that all the time.
Kane. Yeah.
Yeah, he does that all the time. Like, that's his thing. He almost seems to always write like a single standalone book in a seriously elaborate world. What was the other one that we read?
It's not that common.
No, it was certainly not in this genre. But I would definitely give him the card for doing that the most that I can think of, because he does so many others. He does so many stories like that where he develops an elaborate world and then just does the one book. But I don't know. Do you feel like he writes more in that world with his stories? Like, they always seem so long.
I think they're just epic proportions overall, as in world building and characters and the story overall. So I think that's what he sets out to aim to do.
Fair enough.
Most of the time, yeah.
But yeah, it is a shame that we won't be getting more in the world. I mean, seriously, who would have thought? Goblins and steampunk. What an awesome idea.
Yeah. I do like that it's a standalone, though.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, is that awful juggle of when they... I always get upset when everything is a series and you're like, come on. But then when someone writes something this good that I love this much and then to discover it's all I'm going to get.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
It is a double-edged sword, but I can't argue with her for doing it when I look for it sometimes myself, so... Excuse me.
It would be interesting if they did sort of like a... Well, she did sort of like a prologue. Because I would like to know about the father or the mother in a little bit more detail, in a way, and get an idea of their reign, the father's reign. So yeah,
Sorry, Kirsten.
I was just going to say, it'd definitely be a lot darker story, I think, if you followed the story of his mother, of Maya's mother, and what happened with him and why, how she was sent away and all of that.
Well, not only that, it's not going to have a happy ending. So
yeah.
I actually think if she was to write again in the world, I'd actually like to have a character set in the Goblin country, and something to sort of show more depth from that side of things. Because I felt like, because he knew so little about his own heritage, I felt like that was an area that wasn't explored as much as I would like. And there was things hinted at that were interesting to me, and I was like, oh, I would really like to see him learning about that. But I understand he's too busy, he's got too much going on to worry about learning too much about that side of his heritage. But it would be fascinating, I think, to actually have a story based in that area.
Maybe through the perspective, the mad aunt that he referenced in the novel. I wonder how she turned out like that, because I was thinking we just hear her reference as just the mad aunt, and maybe there's a bit more to that.
The one who's with the pirate? Was that one you meant, or?
Her name was Fevar or something.
There was 3 of them, and there was one that came to visit Maya, and then there was another one who was married, I think, to a pirate, and then there was another one. She might have been the mad one.
I think the other one was the mad one, because she wasn't married, or that I can remember. It'll be good to have a paperback copy of this novel, to just like when you're reading through and just look at the glossary, because I finally saw, because I was reading on an ebook and I was thinking, oh, what does this mean again? What does this mean again? I wish I had the paperback.
I had a paper copy, and I didn't notice there was a glossary until I got to the end, and then I was like, damn it, this would have been helpful before.
I actually found it not particularly useful, because it was all names, and the book was written in such a way so that you didn't have to look up the names, because you would feel lost. You'd be like, who was that again? But because Maya could never remember who people were himself, they were constantly re-explaining those sorts of things, so I never had to really look up names. But they would often refer to terms like I can't remember the word for it, but his guards, and there was the 2 different names for his guards, and then the people who helped him get dressed and everything in the morning, but they were very similar names.
Yeah.
And I kept wanting to look up those to get it right in the beginning, and they're not in the glossary. Even though it says persons, places, things, and gods, I was like, it's mostly names.
It's very similar, like one starts with E and the other starts with I, and it's like, okay, I think I know what you're talking about. I just can't remember.
When it first happened, I actually got confused, thinking that, because there was 2 guards, one for the physical body and one for the spiritual body, apparently. And I thought at first that the 2 different names were the 2 different guards, and then I realised, well, actually no, she seems to be referring to these other people who are helping him dress.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to look it up, because I was like, am I getting confused and missing things out? What's going on? But yeah, neither of the names were in the glossary, so it was useless from that respect. And then they would have things like the wisdom bridge in there, and I'm like, well, that's the ending.
Yeah. Well, I never looked at it because I didn't see it until the very end, and I was like, damn it, why didn't I notice this was here? I usually have the fact that I'm reading an audiobook, but I'm not reading an ebook as an excuse, and it's really hard to flip back and forth with an ebook. But this time I had one from the library, and I still didn't notice the little offering. The thing that I had trouble with was the names of the people. Sometimes he'd refer to them by their first and last name, and
Yes.
sometimes he'd refer to them by their title. And I got so confused, and like eventually, like you said, Mel, she did have a good way of kind of explaining it enough that you figured out who they were talking about. And I'd be like, oh, that's that chick. Oh, that's the same one as the other name. And I'd be, yeah, it took me a little while to get the idea that, oh, that must be a title. Because I never really registered that at first. I just thought it was the name of someone. And then, eventually I was like, oh, there's a couple of people that are being referred to as with this beginning. I'm not even going to try and pronounce any of them because I can't.
No.
But I figured out, oh, that's like an honorary title, and now I figured out what they're doing. But, yeah, that took me a little while.
Yeah.
I think that was mainly because he keeps on stuffing up on the formal and informal titles and with his grammar because he hasn't really had much experience in the court. But again, as a reader, you're getting a little bit confused by all of this as he is.
Yeah. But that's kind of the role of Savette, right? That's basically his role, is to, in the story, not just in his job, but also in the story, he's the guide. He's the one that helps you to figure things out, as well as helping out Maya. So
yeah.
Yeah, I was so worried. I was so glad that he didn't turn out to be bad. So many of these sort of books that would happen, and I was like, I know
politically intrigue.
Betrayal, but it wasn't as bad as if he'd betrayed him. It would have been really, really, really bad.
And I'm so super suspicious now. Ever since we read Mistborn, I'm just like,
oh yeah,
I don't trust anybody since Mistborn. Everybody is possibly the evil person.
Yep. Yeah, so I was a bit worried about that because I was like, and I was kind of going, well, nothing really horrible has happened yet. Something bad's going to happen.
I almost got to the point where I had actually almost let it go because I was expecting it to happen for so long and nothing happened. I'd actually gotten to the point where I really had let down my guard about it all and just thought, okay, well, not everybody here is perfect, but it looks like it's the kind of book where to me, it was more realistic political intrigue because sometimes when you read a book and someone stabs you in the back and you're just like, I don't even know how that would even happen in real life, that you could just totally not get any hints that this person was not liking you.
Yeah.
And this was so much more realistic because no one who really liked Maya actually turned out to be a bad guy, because even the guy who was his Nochirai or whatever it was, the guard guy who betrayed him, hadn't been particularly close to Maya, unlike the other two original guards.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I didn't even feel particularly like he was an utter shock or anything. So it felt to me, like you said, Liv, that it was so much more realistic in the political intrigue. Yeah, the people who betrayed him were obviously not particularly liking him. Their reason, especially for the big dude, the guy who tried to kill him at the end, might have been extreme for some of them, but for the most part, it was kind of really logical and understandable, and even the way they had tried to have him abdicate instead of killing him, I was like, this is so normal, and oh god, this is awesome for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does work because I want off him when they would actually lose political respect, as opposed to just abdicating him. So there you go.
Yeah.
Because there had been enough bloodshed with the emperor and his sons, and it just wouldn't work in their favor. So yeah, I really like that it was a realistic portrayal. So there you go.
Even too, like, I like the fact that it wasn't just him coming in and starting to dictate things to everybody. Like, I really find with a lot of these books where there's a king or an emperor or something along those lines, it just seems to be everything in the governing world suddenly goes by their whims, and that's not the reality of those situations. In fact, it's a job with a lot of responsibility and a lot of people that you've got to talk to and bounce things off to keep happy. And that's what is really shown.
It definitely gave you that feel of, you know, the emperor's not something you really want to be. You're basically going to be working your butt off all day long every day, at this meeting and that meeting and blah, blah, blah. And you never get any privacy.
Oh,
so
God,
it's not really worth the trade-off for having a nice palace to live in. And, you know, I mean, he doesn't even get to choose what he wears. He has to wear white all the time.
Yeah.
This sort of reminds me because I've been playing this game called Democracy Free, and I was like, this is going to be good. I can govern Australia and put in the policies that I want, and then you think, oh, damn it. This is not going to appeal to everyone. Oh, damn it. I didn't survive the term. No one wants to vote me in because I legalized prostitution and things like that. There you go. But yeah, that's a very simple comparison to what he's going through. But anyway, I was going, because, yeah.
That's real life, right? Politics is freaking hard, and you can never make everybody happy.
Yeah. And I think Maya did a pretty good job of getting pretty close to it, though. And he did sort of realise that. There was one point in the book where he did kind of go, oh, shit, I can't actually please, there's two people here and I can't please both of them. So I'm just going to do what I want, and too bad for them. Because then it was good, because it was like, right, I'm just going to put my foot down and make a decision, and I might as well piss them both off. Wasn't that what he said? If I can't please either of them, I might as well make them both angry.
Which is something that he could do in his position, whereas in most positions that's just not possible.
No.
But, you know, talking about it makes me feel like this is the kind of book I would love to give to a teenager to make them realise, like, what politics is like. Not necessarily in our real world, because that is so complex that it would be just mind-bogglingly boring. But this would make it sort of give an appreciation for politics without necessarily having to teach directly, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting political system too, because they appeared to have a sort of parliament, like a sort of some sort of representative system, even though he's the Serenity, he's the emperor. That, like, if he wanted that bridge built, he still had to get enough of the people on the committee to agree with it. And I thought that was quite interesting too.
One of the things, did you guys have sort of a society in mind when you were reading this as to what it was based on?
No,
I was thinking,
really.
I think it was sort of a mix of several different cultures for me. So.
Anything in particular?
Well, of course, I remember reading your review on Goodreads, and Japanese came to mind. But I also thought, like, English as well, as in regards to the wives as well, because it's not exactly a harem, or they have multiple wives and multiple concubines. But the previous emperor had like one wife at a time, and if they were barren or he didn't like them, like Maya's mother, he would just send them away and marry the new one. But, yeah.
I agree. Like, I don't think it was necessarily one culture, but the reason Japanese stuck in my mind was a couple of things. The clothing. I don't know why, but the clothing to me was very Japanese. And there was nothing particularly that was described that made it Japanese, but just the way they were talking about it, the way that they were dressing him.
There was something about the hairpins that I thought sounded really Japanese. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, that was definitely Japanese.
Yeah, I think it was even a Japanese word, wasn't it? I don't even remember now.
Yeah, she has. She used a Japanese word for these little ornaments that they do in Japan. So they're not used anymore, but they were in the emperor times and things like that. But there was the clothing, and it was also the way the court worked a little bit in terms of the people who were the group that were his people who watched him. They sounded a lot like the samurai to me. Obviously, they don't have magicians, but that bit didn't become apparent until the very end anyway. So
yeah.
But yeah, I thought that it just had a lot of vibes to me that felt like that, and also even just about the way in the politics how he was the emperor, but yet all of them had sort of their areas that they took care of as well. So that sort of felt very Japanese. But but none of it was like, oh, this is definite Japanese. It was like there's hints of it there, but it's not necessarily. It could be something else as well, and you could see this there and that. I didn't actually realise, Liv, you saying that he actually had one wife at a time. I kind of thought he might have, but I wasn't sure for sure that he did.
Yeah. I was reading it because I think with the first, he had like 5 wives, didn't he? And the first one died. The second one was Goblin or something, and she was sent away because she was barren.
Yeah.
And then the third one was the one that he loved, and she died. And then he married the Goblin one, which was Maya's mother. And of course was like, I don't like you, so send you off after you've given me a child. And then he has the new one, who is Suzura or something. I forgot her name.
The young one.
Who's sort of a spoiled girl. So basically he's having one wife at a time. And I'm thinking, after I read, I was thinking, what other place would have, like, country in history had something similar to that? And I couldn't really think of anything. And I was looking up online religious examples, but not examples, but I couldn't really find anything on it. But basically what I remember from history in regards to emperors or kings with their wives, it tends to be if it's like the Japanese, I think, didn't they have like several wives and concubines? I'm a bit more, I know a bit more about Chinese ones than the Japanese. And
Japanese I don't think did several, but I know some Asian cultures did. I was more thinking along like Henry VIII kind of style, but the problem is that I never felt like they mentioned actual divorce, more like the wife was just sent away. So I felt like he could have multiple wives, but he focused in on one at a time.
Yeah, that's what I thought, so I wasn't sure. So maybe she just created a new idea. There's probably a society out there that has something similar, but I can't really think of anything, and I didn't really have enough time to research in depth. But I was really interested in that. I spent like half an hour looking up, and didn't really have any results for it, except for so many things pointing towards religious texts, especially like Solomon. And I was thinking, Solomon's not like exactly example, because he had so many wives.
Yeah, but there are in a lot of in Middle Eastern countries and Asian countries, at least when you're in a position of power, you often would have more than one wife.
Yeah.
So there's those. Plus, there's also the what are they? What's that religion that's in America now, but they used to be in Europe? Anyway, they're the ones that do the Sister Wives TV show and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry?
I can't remember. I was thinking Mormons, but I was like, no, I don't know. I can't remember.
I don't know enough about it, but I think the thing is, too, is that there's lots of ones that were in history that did do things like that to varying degrees and things like that. So it's not an uncommon thing, essentially, whether they were divorced or whether they were all married all at once, but he just showed favoritism, whatever it was. He definitely, it's definitely not an unheard of thing, especially for people who are in power like he was. So
yeah.
So speaking of wives, what do we think of his fiancée and that whole thing of, I really felt for him in that part where it was like, you're gonna get married and we're just gonna pick someone, and it was just, I was really happy that she turned out to be pretty cool. I really liked her in the end. But I was a bit,
I had a feeling I was going to. I had a feeling that she was, like, the way she was standoffish in the beginning made me think that it was going to work out. Because I figured that it was more likely she was going to be awful if she was nice to him in the beginning.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, I think maybe I've read too many dark fantasies because I kept waiting for awful things to happen all the time. Like, I mean, it's definitely not Game of Thrones, right?
No.
Maybe I've been spoiled by reading that, where I'm like, now I expect awful things to happen to people at every twist and turn in every part of the book. And I was pleasantly surprised to not have that. I do like to have a nice, happy ending.
This one
good to
definitely
have
had a lot of
surprises, but
Yeah.
But happy ending's good.
Because even the people who turned out to be bad in this were already people who weren't in your good books anyway. So it's not like you minded, and everything
Yeah.
turned out okay in the end. So I thought it was just really nice to have a happy book.
Yeah.
Happiness. This is going to be one of my go-to to feel happy books, because even like I love The Night Circus. It's a gorgeous, glorious book, but it still doesn't have what I would call a completely happy story ending. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so many books do that. Like Mistborn was the same. Loved the book, loved the characters, was really, really enjoying it, and then that ending. So
Mhm.
there's very few books I have where it's just like I know I can read this and I will end up perfectly happy at the end, and that's what this is for me. This is why I need to own it. And also, of course, so I can shove it into people's hands and go, read this.
Well, that's one of the main things that's good about owning a book, isn't it? That's one of the things I missed most when I started reading so many things on my Kindle, was like, I can't just go, here's the book, you need to read it.
Yeah. But I also have learnt for myself that if I'm going to do that, I need to not expect the book to come back. So
Yeah,
it's basically gotten to the point now where if I loan a book to someone, it's with no expectation of it coming back at all, and that I might have to buy myself a new copy if I really want to keep it. And that's okay.
Or you sort of learn who to lend them to and who not to as well.
Mostly because none of you guys are any close to me. I have nobody who I would, because most of my friends that I have, well, I mean, like, I trust you guys because I know you treat books well, and I also know that if you wanted to read it, you would read it. You just read it, or you tell me when you want to borrow it, when you do want to read it. So my biggest pet peeve is when people say, oh, yeah, I'll read that, and then they don't give it back for 6 months because they haven't gone around to it.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah. And they say, oh, yeah, I'm going to read it.
And look, I've got no problems as long as, they just let me know that, rather than just having to wait and then awkwardly I have to ask.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't even awkwardly ask, because usually it's a book that I've loved and I'm like, have you read it yet? Have you read it yet? And then they're like, oh, no, I haven't got to it yet.
It gets to
Maybe
the point
they just
where
don't want to tell me, because then if they say, yeah, I'm reading it now, I go, oh, what part are you up to?
I always get to the point where that gets awkward because they never freaking read the book. So I've just either I don't loan it to people, or I just give it to them expecting that it won't come back at all, because they almost always inevitably forget even that book was mine.
Unfortunately, most of my friends are not major readers, so especially of fantasy, so I'm like, which is good having book club friends.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why this is so important to me, because for me, this is my outlet, right? Most people who I do know who read, very few actually read the same kinds of books. So
yeah.
I tried to get my sister to read The Night Circus. She still hasn't done it. But I didn't give her my copy. She bought a copy herself, so.
Well, that shows a certain level of commitment to reading it, surely.
It was an ebook, and I think she just, Anyway.
Yeah, it's easy to just click and buy with an ebook and then go later, yeah. Well, I bought that Humble bundle not that long ago, and I'm like, man, am I ever going to get to read all these?
Exactly.
That's really
why
like
I've
the
never
cost
done
of
a
one book,
Humble
so.
bundle. Yeah. That's why I've never done a Humble bundle, because I'm like, is it worth doing it for the one book I know I want to read, for all these other books that I probably will never really get to because I've got that many on my to-read list.
Yeah.
So, and not to mention book clubs and things constantly suggesting books. I gave up. Humble bundles are just not an area that's... But I don't do any of those sorts of things. Like, I was listened to some podcasts for crafting, and they get like a loot crate type thing, but it's for wool, for knitting and crocheting. And I thought, oh, that'd be so cool.
Like that.
To get like
scrapbooking.
Yeah, and you get these luxury stuff coming to your door, and it'd be so awesome to inspire ideas and things. And I was like, no, that wouldn't work. It'd just end up piling up.
I used to do it for scrapbooking until we had Xander, and I was like, I need to start cutting back some things and tighten the purse strings a little bit. But they used to they'd send you once a month, and it had some pattern paper and some normal paper and a bunch of other stuff, and then usually a couple of ideas that you could layouts you can make. And it never really worried me because you can just throw it in
the stack.
Yeah, put it in, and half the time I wouldn't actually make what they tell you to make. I would use it for something else. But if I never get to it, it goes in the stash, and I'll get to it one day. But yeah, it's one of those things that adds up real quick. I was looking at the I think it was the quarterly one. There's a quarterly one that's a book one.
Book Riot.
This is my
one.
Yeah, the Book Riot one, and I was looking at it, and I nearly signed up to it, but then I was like, oh my god, the shipping is so much, and I understand why, because it costs a lot to ship books to Australia.
Yeah.
But it was so much more for shipping. I think it was like $50 a month, and then another $30 for shipping, and it kind of went. Maybe I could justify $50 a month, but $80 a month seems like so much more than $50 a month, and I was like, I think it's every quarter, but still. Like, for the same thing, I might not even get any books that I'm actually wanting to read, so.
Nah, it's not worth it. Yeah, so this is the reason for no to the wool. So for me, this is just one of my containers already full of wool. I have never ever signed up for one of these, by the way. I just knew it was a bad idea. And like I've got like all these special ones that I pick up when I go on holidays and things like that. And I
want to get more wool, but unfortunately the only stores in Canberra tend to be franchises like Spotlight and Lincraft, and it's just not that great looking or quality. So, like, I have one from Lincraft at the moment, but yeah, I might have to get it off Etsy if I want to do more stuff.
If you're coming to Melbourne again at any point, I can take you to an excellent wool store. It's very pretty wool.
Well, I'm considering moving to Melbourne after university, so yeah.
Oh,
I want to talk to his major book club thing. There you go.
I keep thinking, because we've got enough people in Melbourne now, that we should be having some local meetups and stuff, but the problem is that nobody else in Melbourne does them regularly, so
yeah,
never works out.
I don't think there's many in Brisbane that are...
You've actually got a few in Brisbane. Brisbane's probably our second most popular, if not our most popular location. But, again, same problem. Not everybody comes regularly.
Yeah, well, that's what I was like. I'm trying to think who else is in Brisbane. I'm just trying to look at my husband. Come and show them what you look like right now.
Oh, Matt. What are you wearing? Are you cold?
No, he's just wearing it because he's silly. A couple of friends of ours went down to Sydney for the Easter show and brought us back some show bags. So Matt got the Muppets show bag, which came with a Kermit hat.
Awesome.
It's very cute.
No, it's it's a location problem. We are just all very spread out, especially for the ones who do it all regularly. So
yeah,
that's bullshit. Everyone moved to Melbourne now.
Well, all of us live in 3 different states, so which is fun.
Just the 3 of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yep. Yeah, our most frequent people that come are all in different states.
Yeah.
Pretty much it. And even the couple who aren't, they don't live in the same towns. Like, Karina comes reasonably often, but she is she's actually directly in the middle, because she's on the border of Victoria and New South Wales, because she's in Albury-Wodonga.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, like, same sorts of things. Even when they're in the same state, it's that far away that there's just no hope.
Who else is in Brisbane? Who else is in Queensland?
Justine is in Brisbane, but we haven't seen her in ages.
Yeah, I haven't seen her in ages. I saw her once at a convention, though.
Yeah. There's actually a few, because I've seen them sort of posting, or I've got them on my friends list or things like that, but like they don't necessarily participate, whether it's on Facebook or whether it's coming to these. So, but I actually think Brisbane, thinking back on it, I think actually Brisbane has the most numbers.
Really?
Yeah. I actually thought you guys would break off first with your own individual group because of the numbers we were getting in. and yeah, it never happened. So.
Oh well.
It's specifically vaginal fantasy, by the way, not for the other bits and pieces.
I don't think there's anyone else in Canberra.
I love the way you say Canberra like that, like it's all Canberra.
Oh, it is Canberra. To be fair, Albury-Wodonga is not that far from Canberra.
I know, but I don't like driving that far anyway.
No,
like, I don't even like driving to the coast. It's like 2 hours.
But yeah, we used to have someone who was in almost in Arndale in New South Wales. So we've had lots of country towns as well as actually our cities and things. So
which is good, and it's a good thing I think for people in country towns to come to something like this because, you know, if this didn't exist, we could probably find a book club that was run by a bookshop in the city or whatever. But people in country towns would be less likely to have that. So it's probably a really good thing being able to do it on, you know, on the video chat and everything.
I agree, actually. I mean, it's been a boon for me even too because Liv knows from where I live, where Melbourne is, and where the majority of people live in Melbourne is actually quite far away. And I used to do a craft book group in Melbourne, but it was on the east side because that's where most people live, and it was just a hike every single time, and nobody in the group appreciated like that I travelled so far every time to come to this thing. And they finally came out to my place once because I hosted, and yeah, their concept of travelling was interesting.
I've found that people that live close to the city, like we've had friends say to us, "Oh God, you live out in Whoop Whoop," and it's like, yeah, we're really only 40 minutes from the city. It's not that far. And
that's a day trip in Hobart.
Did you hear that?
No.
That's a day trip in Hobart.
Yeah. Yes.
Tasmania, things are close together. If you drive for more than an hour, it's like, no, you have to stay overnight now. You've driven that long. But yeah, I definitely get that impression that because we're used to driving, like we've got friends that live on the other side of Brisbane, we're used to driving that far, and it's not really that big a deal for us. But when people come out to our place, it's like, God, your house is so far away.
That reminds me of Canberra, especially with the south and north side, because at most it's like 40 minutes, like from the bottom to the top. And people go, like if you have a friend in north side, you go, I don't really want to go up there, even though you're like half an hour away.
Yeah.
Happens a lot.
Australia and our lifestyle, we have to live so spread out. But then, you know, compared to America, in America they wouldn't even say that we live in the city that we live in. Like, I wouldn't say if I lived in America that I lived in Melbourne, because they only really say that if you really do live, like, right close to the centre of the city.
Yeah, but nobody knows the names of all the places. If you don't say, like, if I said, well, for start, if I said, I live in Springfield, it's like, which one? I know it's not quite as bad as America. I know they've got, like, tons of them. But I'm sure there's a couple of Springfields in Australia.
There's a Springfield in suburb.
Yeah. So, you know, you have to be a bit more specific than that. And I could say Ipswich, but nobody wants to admit to that. So I say Brisbane.
I've gotten a couple of pen pals now from that pen pal International Geek pen pal group, and they're always American, which drives me insane. Not that I don't like having an American pen pal, but you're like, it's international. Am I not supposed to get some other country than America? But yeah, and they always refer to themselves living in, so you actually have to go look it up to figure out where it is.
Yeah.
I've had two who, by my books, I would have said they lived in San Francisco. But they don't say that. They say they live in Bayside or something. You're like, Bayside what?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah,
we are so seriously off.
It doesn't matter. They can stop watching. They don't.
Liv, you're going to say something. I interrupted you.
Oh, I was just saying that I have pen pals from Tennessee and Texas now, but I wanted to get someone from Europe. Europe. Like I did that.
A European.
Yeah, I did the fictional crush package like swap thing. Although I don't think I'll do that again because it costs so much for postage to. Like, I had a person in the UK and she lived in a place called Little Meadow and I was going, oh, that's such an adorable name. I want to be pen pals with you, but she hasn't replied. So I was like...
Oh. Yeah. I've had, I've been matched up 4 times now and 3 out of the 4 have stopped replying. It's just... Sometimes people say they want to be a pen pal, and I don't think they actually realise that it means writing a letter on a regular basis. I think they think it means like, I think they feel like it's going to be parcels all the time instead of just written letters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't afford to do parcels all the time.
Yeah, no.
I'm happy to do
Especially
care
overseas.
packages once in a while, but a letter regularly. So, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the book. Did anybody else feel like it was just lovely when he basically took the children in?
Yeah.
Yes.
I love the
I also-
way
That's
he...
when I cried.
Yeah. I like the way he empathised with them. Like, he didn't see them as, you know, his enemies' kids. He just saw them as kids that were going to lose their mum. And,
Yeah.
that was really nice.
Well, even with the mum, he was actually really compassionate towards her, even though she was just utterly awful, and he felt like he was she was going to kill him even after he'd abdicated. Lovely and empathetic with everybody, which is, I think, why you kind of like him in the end.
Yeah.
I
I also like that part at the end when they're talking about the Tepama clan or something, and there was going to be children, and he was thinking, oh, am I going to have a nursery full of my enemy's children? Like, it's not like he detested that, but it was, yeah.
He was just like, well, this could end badly for me, so we probably need to do something about this.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that he just sort of he found family wherever he could and took it because he wanted family so badly. It was just lovely. Even down to taking on board essentially his... I don't know what to call the lady who was previously the wife of his father. She's not a stepmother.
Yeah.
What do you call that?
Yeah.
But anyway, he wanted to have a relationship with her because he was so desperate for a mother figure in his life.
Yeah. Oh, Goblin. Is that what you're talking about?
And honestly, the names are with my head. Apart from a couple of the major ones, which actually goes down to Maya and Savette. That was about it. I can't remember anybody's names. I might recognise them if I saw them on the page, which means I didn't, because I'm visual, not audio. It means that I only saw them on the page. I never tried because that was too difficult. 16 times, so I still wouldn't know who you were talking about.
I usually kind of hear things in my head, but when I can't pronounce it, I kind of don't do that. Like when I get to that name, it's a little stumbling block, and I just sort of look at the name, and then it makes it harder for me to keep it straight in my head. So and I'm useless when it comes to any kind of language that's not English. My brain is just not wired for learning other languages. I'm not good at pronouncing things. I'm not good at remembering other words. Like I did I learned German for like 4 years, and I can't speak any of it anymore.
Yeah, I did Mandarin for a couple
just break up a whole heap for you.
You were breaking up a lot for me before too.
Yeah, like Mel, you were worse for me, and then Kirsten was a bit better. So I don't know what's happening here. It might be our internet connections. So it could be anything. And yeah. Can you still hear me? Because your image is now very
Australian
still.
internet strikes again. Lives breaking up.
This is another problem about introducing streaming services into Australia.
Oh, mine keeps bloody dying,
You
actually.
said for both of us talking
You know what I found funny? I'm with Telstra for the internet, and
no idea what you guys have been saying.
oh, sorry. We were just talking about streaming, like internet.
It's not your fault. It's
the whole
the
thing's going-
internet.
I know. But I found it really funny because I'm
Anyway.
with Telstra, and they've just recently gave us 300, like they offered us 300 gigabytes in data for free, and I think that was coming off just as Netflix came out, and I was thinking, is this a connection? Because there's going to be quite a few people switching over to another place that won't. Where the streaming won't affect their data usage.
Yeah, we're lucky. We're with iiNet, so none of our Netflix stuff counts towards our downloads.
Yeah. So I think
if we go a little bit faster, that would be nice.
Yeah. Oh, Mel's gone.
Huh.
She'll probably be back in a sec. It's alright.
Yeah.
It reminds me of... Oh, there you go. She's back.
Hello.
Hello.
Yet.
It reminds me of last week with the Hangout, where my connection kept on dropping out like every couple minutes, which was quite annoying. But there you go.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I've been looking at some of Catherine, that's her pen name, Catherine Addison, and she's normally Serenit. Yeah, I've been meaning to read Melusine for quite a while. Maybe I'll do that because I really enjoy this. Melusine, which is the first of the Doctrine of Labyrinths. But yeah. Considering that I really enjoyed this novel, I think this would be a good one. Well, just any other books by her would be good to read as well.
Look it up. Because, you know, I don't have enough things on my to-read list. So,
Yeah. Well, I probably shouldn't be buying anything more. I have to, I have a couple book club reads next month, and then I just recently, because I was shopping with my mum because she wanted my discount card for where I work, and there was this place near the where we were shopping, and it had like $5 books, and I was like, oh, I need to look at this because it's $5 books, and I found this book about it's called The True History of the Hula Hoop, and it basically follows two lives, like this woman who's a burlesque dancer in the modern day Australia, and then in the 1500s Italy about a clown woman, like a woman who plays as a clown in this circus. And then off the side it has facts about how the hula hoop was used in culture. It tends to be advertised that the hula hoop was made by the American company in the 1950s, but that's not true because there's a lot of references that it's been used in the past before that. So there was something about Native Americans and can't remember what else it was. I'm just starting to read it, but it's really interesting so far.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So many things on my favorite books.
That's the problem. There's so many books to read, and honestly, you do not have the time to read them all. And you're probably going to read a few bad ones, even compared to the good ones, which is a bit of a bother, unfortunately. But there you go. I would like to have the... You know, have you seen the film About Time? With
Is
the
that the one with is that the one by the same guy that did I'm trying to
Four Weddings
remember.
and a Funeral?
Yeah. The one with the
Yeah.
one with what's her name? It's gone. I can picture her face, but I can't think of her name. What's the actress in that?
Rachel McAdams, I think.
That's her. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I love that movie. It was so good.
I just liked what the father did in the movie. Like, he would reverse time so he could read, like, more books. And that's basically what I would do with that power.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was really awesome.
Yeah. Mel, are you still here? Or...
No, I don't think she is. Is she talking to me? Hang on, let me look. I'm saying hello. I'm just trying her on Facebook. Oh, now you've frozen, Olivia. No, it's me that's wrong. Damn it.
Hello. Can
Hello.
anybody hear me now?
I can hear you, but I don't know if you can hear me. And Olivia looks frozen, and you look frozen, and maybe I'm dead. Uh,
You know, Mark email its name on 365 as well. We weren't expecting you to have that.
did you get a warning?
Yeah, I told us.
Can anybody hear me yet?
Yeah, my internet just dropped out for a bit, but
You know,
it's back now.
I had everybody frozen on mine, so I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah. Fortunately, I run next to the internet connection, so I can see instantly when, like, it turns red or it starts, like, switching on and off, which is really annoying, but there you go. You tend to get the most stable connection in this room, so there you go.
Mel? Hello? Anybody at home? Is this because we all went off topic that this is the Hangout Society? No. Hello, yes? Alright, we've got two Olivias now. Is this two
There you
Olivias?
go.
Hi.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm back again. Oh, God. Why is it doing this to me? Okay,
Maybe I
there
need
you
to
go.
quit.
It's done now.
Mel's
Yeah.
frozen again.
Yeah.
Mm.
It told me that the video call was ended because the internet dropped out even though it was back on again. Then I had to go back and reset. So it looks like we're all having problems. Well, Mel and I.
Maybe I'll leave and see if that helps, because I'm the only one who hasn't been kicked out yet. I might
Yeah.
go out and come back in. Mel says she thinks she might have to give up.
Oh, okay.
She said she's restarted her internet and her computer, but it's not working.
Oh, there you go. I think we had really basically talked about what we
I
wanted to
think
talk
we had. I
about.
think we'd kind of gotten off track anyway, but
Yeah.
I think we had.
We
I
should
think sometimes when it's like when we all love a book, it's actually sometimes harder to come up with stuff to talk about because you sort of
Yeah.
all agree. Whereas when somebody doesn't like it, then you get more discussion. Or when we all hate it, then you end up everybody has a fun time picking at the book. But when we all like it, it's kind of like, what else are we going to say?
Exactly, because when you're left dissatisfied by the book, you tend to be a lot more nitpicky about
Yeah.
a lot more details in the book. So, like, for example, last week when we talked about the Undivided, it tended to be very polarizing views of it. Like, us two,
Yeah.
we enjoyed it, but Karina and Mel were pretty meh. So, there you go. But yeah, if Mel's having problems, then
Yeah,
you
we
know,
might have to call it a night.
yeah. So yeah, if the people from Sword and Fantasy are going to be watching this, we're sorry
Sword and
we went off
Laser.
track quite a bit.
Yes.
Hope you enjoy listening about
Yeah.
internet connections and streaming and all sorts of
We
things.
weren't too bad this week. We've gotten
Yeah.
way more off track than that before.
Yeah.
But yes, we all enjoyed the book, so that's always good. And we're all looking forward to. I think we're pretty much unanimously looking forward to next month's book. I kind of came in
Yeah.
early on the discussion before, but yeah. So that should be
Which
good.
one is that for? Oh, that's definitely
For
for
Sword
this
and
club.
Laser.
Yeah, it's the Weed Sisters. I was just thinking, there's just so many clubs that you have to keep on updated on. Because I'm gonna read Who Fears Death next.
Yeah, that's
So
what I'm reading next as well.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And then I saw Matt's review, and I'm like, oh, that's good. At least someone likes it.
You chose it, didn't you?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think it
that's
was
good. Yeah, he liked it.
yeah, it was between that and Killing Moon. So I already have that other book too, so I'm going to read that as well. But I don't know when I'm going to get towards it. Ah, Mel's back. Hopefully.
She's trying.
Yeah. Are you back?
Baby! Oh God! Come on!
Don't worry, I feel your pain. I had it last week.
Pretty.
Oh, this isn't good.
Can you actually hear me?
I can
It's
hear you, but
broken
you're
up a
breaking
bit.
up. Breaking up.
Okay.
We might have to call it a night.
All right, guys,
Yeah.
don't worry about it. If you can hear me, I'm just going to say bye. I'm going to stop the broadcast. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys next week or in a couple of weeks, depending on what you can come to.
Yeah.
I think the next one I'm coming to is Who Fears Death, from what I can remember, because I haven't even bought or loaned Fortune's Pawn. I just haven't gotten around to it. I don't think I'm going to read it before next
Well, I
Monday.
just finished it last night, so I'll be at the next hangout.
Yeah. All right.
Good night, and thank you
All
for a lovely chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Bye.